Hi, I'm Emily Taylor from Collage Quilter. Thank you for joining me in this episode of Fusibles. We're going to talk about fusibles today. So in collage quilts, I like to use a double-sided fusible web. My preferred product is Light Steamaseam 2, but I get questions all the time about other products. And I always say, I'm not super familiar with that, so I don't know, you'll have to experiment. But today I decided I would experiment, and for your benefit, we are recording it. So we've got several different double-sided fusibles that we're going to talk about. So number one, let's just start with this one that's right up front. This is called Soft Fuse. This is specifically for applique, and this was given to me by a vendor at a show, and I've just had it, so we're gonna give this a try. Soft Fuse looks like this. It comes on a really thin paper, and then the fusible is on here. When it's on your fabric, it looks like this. It has the paper on the back. And then if I peel the paper back, I can feel, it's very, very light. There's not a lot to this, so I'm anxious to see how well that fuses to the other fabric. The next product that we're going to look at is Misty Fuse. I get a lot of people who really love Misty Fuse, and I can see why, because it's a very, very fine, fine mesh of glue adhesive, and it leaves your fabric. So even though this fabric has been prepared with the Misty Fuse already, it still has a really nice hand to it. It's very soft. So so far I really like that, like the way it makes the fabric feel. But I will say we had a little episode, a little accident with this. Amelia was preparing these samples with all of the fusibles, and this is all of them are a little bit tricky to prepare because we're used to using Steamaseam that has a temporary tackiness to it so that you can cut the fabric out so you can get real precision when you're applying it to the fabric. And Misty Fuse doesn't have a paper backing either. So that's where the problem came in. Amelia put the hot iron right on the Misty Fuse and we learned really quick how to clean that off. I've heard from many people that using a dryer sheet and wiping that dryer sheet on your hot plate of your iron will remove the residue from the adhesive, and it sure does. It comes off lickety split, and it made the studio smell really good. So keep that in mind. Dryer sheet will take off any of the extra residue. So anyway, that's Misty Fuse. Okay, so this is our sample here, and we'll be applying all of these samples to a piece of fabric at the iron to see how they adhere to another piece of fabric. Okay, so Light Steamaseam 2 is my preferred fusible. We've got this here. Now I'm really familiar with this. It has a paper backing on it. It's much stiffer than the Misty Fuse. And as I peel that paper back, I can immediately feel that temporary fusible. Now that's something that's really unique to Steamaseam, and I really, really like it. So that's Steamaseam. Now the other thing that I want to say about Steamaseam, the Warm Company has produced several different versions of Steamaseam. There are some collage artists that really like the regular Steamaseam. I prefer the Light Steamaseam 2. I don't know why it's called that, because they have Steamaseam, they have Steamaseam 2, they have Light Steamaseam, and I've seen lights. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So we're going to kind of mess around with this and see what the difference is. Amelia has also prepared this piece of fabric with the Steamaseam 2. And I will tell you out of the chute, if it's not light, so the regular is a little stiffer. It's a little heavier weight fusible than the light. Okay, the next product is Heat and Bond. Heat and Bond is produced by, I don't know who, maybe it's Heat and Bond. Maybe that's the name of the company. Anyway, so this comes in a roll. And again, a nice lightweight paper. The fusible is on that. It's got barely tacky. I wouldn't say it's tacky very much, but here it is prepared. It's got the paper on the back.
It was much easier to put that on though because it had that slight tackiness.
Okay. Great. Amelia said this was a little easier to lay the fabric right onto that because it's got a little bit of tack. And this is a very different fusible than what I've seen before. So I'll be anxious to see how that works. Okay. And the last one that we're going to look at is Wonder Under. Now this, I just noticed, is heavy duty Wonder Under. There might be different weights. This is a Pellon product, and I do like Pellon products. They produce a wide range of interfacing and different substrates that can be used in sewing. So this is Wonder Under, and it comes in a roll like this, which always makes it a little tricky to, it tends to want to fold up, so that makes it tricky. It's a product very much like these others, I'd say. And here it is, having been applied to fabric. Again, it has a paper backing on it. Let's feel what that is. Okay, so it's just a kind of similar to the Heat and Bond, but it's a different adhesive, I can tell. Okay, so those are the different products, and now I'm gonna bring my iron over, or we're gonna bring these things over to the iron and press them on the paper on another piece of fabric and see how that goes. All right, here I am at my iron. I have each of these pieces laid out and they're labeled. So let's start with the light Steam Seam 2. I like to use a pin to score the paper to peel it away, but we're gonna just see how it works. So I peel the paper off. It's got that lovely that temporary stick. I'm gonna lay it here. Now the thing with light Steam Seam and the other Steam Seam, which is right here, they are the only ones I think that require steam. So I've got my iron nice and steamy, and I'm gonna steam these. Then I'll turn my steam off for the other ones. Yeah, this is definitely much heavier weight than the light Steam Seam. Okay, so I'm gonna press these on and steam those good. And when I use Steam Seam, light Steam Seam, I like to actually steam it on both sides. Okay. I'm out of water in here. Let's see if I have some. You go get me some more water. Thanks. All right, we're gonna keep going. Let's see. Okay, so now we have soft fuse. Let me peel this paper off. Very, very light adhesive, I can tell. It's not a strong adhesive. Well, we'll see how strong it is, won't we? This is my Wonder Under. Press, that is definitely thicker than the soft fuse, so let's press that on. And here's our Heat and Bond. Okay, and finally Misty Fuse. So I have my iron set at a really high temperature. And let's see, let me add some water so I can get some steam and steam the light Steam Seam 2 and the Steam Seam, because that's part of the process with Steam Seam. Oh, now that's great. My iron just puked up a bunch of stuff. It's probably the leftover fusible that Amelia got on the iron. Okay, I think that's good. All right, Turn my steam off, give everything a good press, and let's take a look at this and see what we think. Okay, so of all of these, I can tell the Misty Fuse is less stiff. The Heat and Bond is quite stiff. The Wonder Under and Heat and Bond are equally stiff. The Steam-A-Seam is stiff. The Light Steam-A-Seam is moderately less stiff than those three. So we've got the regular Steam-A-Seam, the Wonder Under, Heat and Bond. Those are, they're about equal as far as stiffness. The Light Steam-A-Seam is just a little less stiff. The Soft Fuse is a little less stiff than the Light Steam-A-Seam. And then we've got the Misty Fuse. So Misty Fuse is probably the winner as far as the hand, the way that it feels less stiff. And then I'd say the Soft Fuse, then the Light Steam-A-Seam 2, and then these others, the Wonder Under and Heat and Bond, they feel about equal. However, now the test is, how do they adhere, right? So I can tell right now, maybe we didn't get the fusible entirely on the Misty Fuse, or on for the Misty Fuse product. There's Misty Fuse. So I'm able to peel Misty Fuse off entirely. Not good. Let's try Soft Fuse. Soft Fuse also peeled off too easily. I wouldn't use those for permanent collage quilts. Let's see where we're at with the Light Steam-A-Seam. Light Steam-A-Seam is not coming off. Steam-A-Seam is not coming off. Those are permanent adhesives. That means that's a permanent fusion. And the Wonder Under, same thing. That seems like a really permanent fusion. And same with the Heat and Bond. So, okay, good lesson there. Those fusibles that were a little stiffer, a little stronger, or a little heavier weight fusibles stayed adhered to the fabric. The Misty Fuse and the Soft Fuse didn't. They peeled off. So that's that. Now the next test is going to be quilting through them. So I'm going to meet you over at the machine and we'll just we'll just stitch through them. I don't think we're gonna quilt, we're just gonna sew through them and see how they feel under the sewing machine. All right, so I have this strip of fabric that has each of these fusibles here. Now I'm going to give it the test, the quilting test. I'm at my Bernina Q16. I've added, remember the Misty Fuse and the Soft Fuse came off as I peeled them away, and I added 2 other pieces just to, again, give it another try, because if you do a lot of dense, really dense quilting, I suppose it doesn't matter if your fusible adheres very well, but anyway, so I'm going to turn my machine on and we're going to just start stitching and see how this all acts, how it behaves. All right, well, that was fun. Now I'm gonna go see how they feel and what they look like on the back. All right, so here is my final assessment. As expected, those fusibles that are really lightweight were just, you hardly even notice that they're there when you're stitching. But remember, those are also the products, Misty Fuse and Soft Fuse, that I could practically peel off because they just don't have the adhesive that these others do. So they feel great. So I think Misty Fuse is a really good option to use if you can handle the fact that it doesn't have that temporary adhesive, and as long as you remember that it will peel away and it leaves a residue on the fabric underneath. So there's that. The Heat and Bond is quite stiff. I still have to go with, yeah, Heat and Bond is very stiff. Wonder Under is pretty stiff. The Sass is very stiff. The Steam Seam is very stiff. The Light Steam Seam 2 is, again, I think that's my favorite because it's just a little bit less stiff, but that having that temporary fusible on the Light Steam Seam 2 just makes it so easy to work with. So I hope that this has been a helpful video for you. And if you have comments or suggestions for other viewers who will be watching this, I would love to have you put your comments and your own assessment, your own opinion about the product that you like to use, the double-sided fusible web that you might use. So if you'd like to find out more information about the type of collage that I do, you can find me and all of my work and my books and my patterns at collagequilter.com. Thanks for joining me.